Welcome to the Calaveras County Superior Court Department 2 Forum. I'm your host, Joel Metzger, and I am representing the Calaveras Enterprise and the Calaveras County Taxpayers Association, both of which are bringing you this forum. Joining me are the three candidates, Tim Healy, Hugh Swift, and Mr. Trifolo. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Nice to have you on the program. We're going to get right into 2-minute opening statements, and I'm going to start with you, Mr. Healy. Go ahead and begin.
Thank you. My name is Tim Healy, and I'm running for Superior Court Judge Department 2. I want to thank you very much for this opportunity, allowing us to talk with you a little bit more about our qualifications and me personally why I believe I'm the most qualified candidate for Department 2. I'm the only candidate for Department 2 that has worked as an adjunct law professor. I've had over 25 years of experience in the legal and private business sectors, and I'm the only candidate for Department 2 who has dedicated his professional career to public safety, victims' rights, and seeking justice for all as a criminal prosecutor. I wanted to tell you a little bit about my family. I've lived in Calaveras County now for about 11 years. My wife, Rachel, has been here for about 23 years. She's been a peace officer for that time. She worked for the Sheriff's Department as a correctional officer. She's worked for a Tri-County Narcotics Task Force as a probation officer. She also worked for Angels Camp Police Department. I met her when she moved down to Stockton to work there as a Stockton police officer. She had arrested a drug dealer. I prosecuted him, and then after the case was over with, she asked me out, and we've been together ever since. We've been married now for about 10 years, and we have 2 children, Lucas and Shayla. They are in 3rd and 1st grade. They're both very active in sports. They've been playing, right now they're playing baseball and softball. Lucas played football, wrestling last year, and then Shayla was on the soccer team. They're both involved in Cub Scouts, Girl Scouts. My wife and I have both been on the committee with the Cub Scout Pack 352 out of Valley Springs. My wife works with the Girl Scouts, and quite honestly, we're both very vested in Calaveras County and have a real interest in the success of Calaveras County. And that's why I'm running for Superior Court Judge, Department 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. Mr. Swift, your opening statement.
Okay, thank you. My name is Hugh Swift. I'm currently the judge in Department 2. As a judge, I can't make any promises to you about how I'm going to rule on a particular case or any issues that come before me. I can give you some facts about my backgrounds and qualifications for this position. I have experience as a judge being appointed at the end of last year. I currently hear and decide cases on a daily basis. Prior to my appointment to the bench, I was a Superior Court Commissioner in Amador County for 5 years. As a Superior Court Commissioner, I heard and decided cases. My legal career started 28 years ago. The first 13 years, I was a civil litigator in Southern California. I represented clients at arbitrations, at court trials, at jury trials, and on appeal. I have experience as a court research attorney. For 11 years, I was a court executive officer, and for 5 of those 11 years, I was also a Superior Court Commissioner. I've received the endorsements of both Judge Martin and Judge Mwini. I think that's important because better than anyone else, Judge Martin and Judge Mwini know what it takes, what qualifications are necessary to be a judge here in Calaveras County. They know that I have the judicial experience and the administrative experience to lead this court when Judge Martin leaves at the end of the year. My qualifications have been evaluated by an independent, nonpartisan commission of the California State Bar. I'm the only candidate for this position who's gone through that independent review process. I invite you to come to Department 2 if you have any questions about my qualifications and watch me as I hear and determine cases. I'm honored to be your Superior Court judge, and I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. And Mr. John Trufalo, your opening statement, please.
Yes, good afternoon. Thank the host for providing this opportunity, and thank you, the viewers, for allowing us this opportunity to come to you directly. My name is John Trufalo, and I am running for Department 2 like the other two candidates sitting here today. I would like to draw a distinction between the two departments because I think it's very important. Currently, Department 1 is handling most of the criminal law matters. Department 2 is currently handling most of the civil law matters. Civil law is civil litigation, it is personal injury, it is probate, it is family law. I am bringing this distinction to you on purpose because I decided to run for Department 2 because of my background, my experience. I'm a private practitioner, and I've been in private practice since 1974. That's correct, 1974, which just makes us almost 40 years. 40 years of doing primarily family law, but a lot of other civil litigation. I've collected millions of dollars for my clients in regards to personal injury actions. I've handled businesses, I've handled the dissolution of businesses, and I've handled a lot of different other elements of civil litigation. In my past, in the 40 years, because you do a lot of things in 40 years, I've also had some criminal experience and done misdemeanors and felonies as well. I'm not coming to the voters saying that that's my specialty, but it is part of my background. So what I'm doing today is telling the voters that if you want somebody that has on a daily basis dealt with civil law, that's me for 40 years. Now, I started in San Jose in 1974. I stayed there for 27 years. My family and I bought a home in Forest Meadows in Murphy's, California. We loved it. We loved the community. We loved the surroundings. We came up here in 2002 on a full-time basis to put my youngest son into middle school. I would hope for your vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Trufalo. And coming over to you, Mr. Swift, what is your general judicial philosophy?
My general judicial philosophy would be to, one, treat all the parties that come before the court with dignity and respect. I think as a judge, you need to be independent. You need to be free from any type of political influence. It's very important that the judicial branch remain an independent branch of government. I think a judge needs to approach each case by explaining, make sure all the parties understand the process that they're going through, that the judge listens to the parties, that the parties know that they've been listened to, that the judge rely only on the facts and the evidence that's presented in that case, that they apply the law, that the law is applied fairly, and that the judge, in a understandable fashion, explains his or her decisions to the parties.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Swift. Mr. Trufalo, what is your general judicial philosophy?
Follow the law and be fair, just like my opponent here. Everywhere that we go, you know, we meet crowds and we're trying to explain who we are and what our philosophy is. And I'm getting a lot of questions about whether or not I'm going to be a tough judge. Are you going to be tough on various criminals? Are you going to be tough so that our society is better? And my response to the public that has asked me this question is yes, you will be tough when you need to be tough. But most importantly, you're not going to go with an agenda. You're going to go with the attitude of taking each case individually, each defendant in a criminal case, or in a civil case, the defendants or the plaintiffs, the petitioners or the respondents. You're going to look at them and their cases in an individual manner and do the best you can to be fair. I'm also asked many questions about my political background. Am I conservative? Am I liberal? Well, that may be fine for a political race if I was going for governor, but it isn't fine for a judge. A judge needs not to be political. A judge needs to be able to make a ruling based upon his own decision-making abilities. That's where my experience comes into play. If you've done something like family law for 40 years, a very emotional, uptight situation. It's one of the worst areas of the law in regards to emotion. You get used to dealing with people's emotions. Sometimes they're unrealistic desires, and you have to cope through that and get people on the right track. Listen to the facts carefully. Administer to them with realism, and be fair when they're before you, just like you're fair to your own clients. That's what I think I can bring. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Healy, your general judicial philosophy.
Well, I think that it's very similar to what's been discussed in the sense that the first and foremost, you have to follow the law. I think after that, you take a look at the different things that a judge is supposed to be doing, and that is to be fair, be impartial, treat everybody, as has been said, with respect, the utmost in respect and dignity. I think that it's very important to understand the distinctions in the roles of the different people in the courtroom. I think the judge's job is to ensure justice. It's to help the parties make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be heard, that everybody has a fair opportunity to be heard, that victims' rights are respected, that victims and the families of victims are made whole to the fullest extent of the law. And I think you have to bring compassion. And you have to do that in a way that people understand that what you can bring to the bench. I think that is an extremely important part of the whole process. One of the things that I think that sets me apart from my opponents is that as a prosecutor, our job is not to get as many convictions as we can. It's to seek justice and to find the truth. That's our job. If we prosecute, as a prosecutor, if you prosecute someone that you know did not commit the crime, you can be disbarred if you continue to prosecute that person. And it's a very high ethical standard. And I think when you take a look at what a prosecutor has to do every day, they have to be impartial. They have to be fair. They're seeking the truth. Quite honestly, that's a big part of what a judge is asked to do in the courtroom. They're there not as an advocate. The prosecutor's there to seek justice. As a judge, you're there to ensure that it occurs and that both sides have that opportunity. I think that along with the idea that when you deal with the people and the individuals, they have to know that they're being treated well and that they're being treated in such a way that they know they're being heard. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Trifolo, we're looking at 3 candidates, but there's only one position here. Why would voters choose you? Why should voters choose you and not these 2 gentlemen?
Well, as I indicated in the beginning, I think that the voters need to draw a distinction between the 2 different departments and try to pick the best person possible for the department involved. Again, Department 2 is primarily civil in nature. There's some criminal element. There's obviously some civil that's going to go take place in Department 1. For the most part, however, on any given day, you walk into Department 2 and you're going to either hear a family law matter or some other civil litigation involved. Now, when I indicated that I had 4 years of experience, a lot of times that just kind of comes and goes. It's an easy statement to make, but it's got a lot behind it. 40 years means, in my case, just counting very, very stingily, I've had well over 1,000 clients dealing with family law issues from beginning to end. I've had probably 1,000 cases or more in regards to other types of civil litigation. And that means thousands of litigated hearings. That means cases in counties all over the state, Sacramento County, San Benito, Santa Clara County, where I practice a good deal, Santa Cruz County, a lot of other counties. What does that do? It gives me a daily hands-on experience with civil litigation. And I would invite the public, take a look at all the candidates, go to their websites, and delve into their past history, what they've been doing. And I think that if the public does that, you'll clearly be able to understand why I feel that I would be the best candidate. If you deal with this stuff on a daily basis, if every day that you go into work, you're dealing with civil litigation, you're dealing with the clients that are involved with that civil litigation, and you're doing it for 40 years, then I think you're bringing something to the table that the other candidates don't have.
Thank you. Mr. Healy, why should voters choose you?
Well, I think that what we have to do is take a look at the cases that are being filed in Calaveras County and the cases that are actually being heard in Calaveras County. There's been some comments about what's being heard in Department 1 and what's being heard in Department 2. Quite honestly, the Department 1 and Department 2 distinction are arbitrary. They just had to pick a name and a number for the two different departments. When Judge Mawhinney retired, he was sitting in Department 2. Judge Martin is sitting in Department 1. So they just designated this as an arbitrary distinction, just by matter of course. They had to make that distinction for the purposes of the election. All the cases that are being heard in Department 1 right now are criminal. That is true. That was changed in October of last year. Before that, the calendar was very different. Half the criminal cases were being heard in Department 1 with Judge Martin. The other half were being heard in Department 2 with Judge Mawhinney. They split the civil. It was half and half. Right now, in Department 2, they're hearing criminal cases. In fact, when you take a look at the court calendar that's published on the internet, you'll see that this past week, from this last Wednesday, yesterday, till next Tuesday, 60% of the cases that are being heard in Department 2 are criminal. So, over 75% of the cases that are filed in Calaveras County are criminal in nature. That does not include juvenile matters, and it does not include violations for probation. When you take a look at the cases that are actually being heard in Calaveras County, it's a little bit less, but it's still a majority of the cases, including juvenile matters and violations of probation, are in fact criminal. I believe I'm the most qualified for a couple of different reasons, but we'll just talk about the criminal aspect. I have 13 years as a criminal experience as a prosecutor. The last 2 years have been involving child abduction. That particular role involves criminal law, to be sure, but the majority of what I do is in family law, civil law, and in international law. Over the course of my career as a prosecutor, I have handled thousands of cases. That's why I believe I'm the most qualified.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. And Mr. Swift, why should voters choose you and not one of your opponents?
Well, one reason is I currently sit as the Superior Court judge in Department 2. I applied for this position when Judge Mawhinney retired 2 years ago. The process that's used to, the appointment process is very involved. It requires filling out a very lengthy application, submitting it to the governor's office, providing a great deal of detail about one's professional career and background. But I think more importantly, before a judge can be appointed, their qualifications need to be evaluated by the Judicial Nominations Evaluation Commission of the California State Bar. That commission performs a very extensive background on all judicial nominees. And by state law, no governor can appoint a judge who has not gone through that process. In terms of experience, I think I have the most diverse and relevant experience of any of the candidates. Again, I spent 13 years as a civil litigator. I represented clients in civil litigation, hundreds of arbitrations, court trials, I had jury trials, represented clients on appeal in the 4th District Court of Appeal in San Diego. I have been a court research attorney where I researched cases and matters that came before the court for Superior Court judges, and that included criminal matters, civil matters, family law, juvenile, etc. As to the Department 1, Department 2 distinction, I agree that that is somewhat misleading. Judges the presiding judge has exclusive authority to assign cases, and those cases are assigned to judges. They're not assigned to any particular department. So I think that's something important, and I also think it's important to realize that in 1996 or 1995, when Judge Martin was appointed, there was one Superior Court judge, and he came out of the DA's office with a background in criminal law and was required to learn the other civil areas, probate, civil, family, etc.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. Mr. Healy, due to time constraints, would you keep your answer to 1 minute on this one? What's your vision for the future of the Calaveras County judicial system? What changes would you advocate and why?
Well, I think from the standpoint of what my vision is, I think quite frankly it's to serve Calaveras County. I think it's to bring my experience home to Calaveras County. I think that what we need is a judiciary, quite honestly, that is respectful to the people that come into the courtroom, that treats them fairly, that treats them with impartiality and compassion. And I think that we need to have some direction from the courts, and I think we need to move towards different items like pursuing a mental health calendar. I think we need to pursue the ideas behind that. I certainly expect and anticipate that these issues have been discussed before. In San Joaquin County, mental health calendar works. In San Joaquin County, the drug court works, and I know that it seems to be working here. They also have other aspects of things that they're looking at down in San Joaquin County as well, and I think those things, like a mental health calendar, like a veterans court, are ideas that can work here as well, but I think we need to look at them.
Thank you. Mr. Swift, if elected, what changes would you propose? What would you advocate for? And what's the future of the judicial system in this county in your mind?
Okay. First of all, what I'd be most interested in is maintaining the high level of customer service that the employees of the Calaveras County Superior Court have been providing for a number of years. I'm, as a court executive officer and now as a judge, I am very impressed with the high level of service that our employees provide to this community. And I'd do everything I can to maintain that level of service. I want to make sure we maintain our programs and services that are there, including our self-help programs, family law facilitator, the outreach programs that we have that allow people access to the court. I want to continue to leverage technology. Under my direction, the court purchased a brand new case management system that will allow the court to move forward into the 21st century and have people spend more time online, I guess, than in line, and they'll get information and access to the courts that way.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. And Mr. Trifolo, what's your vision for the Calaveras County judicial system, and what changes would you advocate for and why?
Well, I think that the public should be voting for two different candidates in the two different departments that they feel are the best possible judges. I think that there's nothing absolutely wrong with the idea of voters realizing that Department 1 right now is still primarily criminal and Department 2 is still primarily civil. And I think that it's a little bit misleading to say that Department 2 handles a majority of criminal matters. A lot of the criminal matters that are assigned to Department 2 are infractions. A great deal of infractions don't even go to the judge. When I've been in this court system for 12 years, and I know that the judges separated their duties in a way that one judge was handling most of the family law matters, most of the civil law matters, and the other judge on a daily basis was handling most of the criminal law matters. It's important that the public choose accordingly. My vision is also to try to speed up some of the processes. I've been in some of the larger counties, and I know that their venues have a lot more people. They have certain procedures and processes that they follow to try to speed up the cases. And I think that my background in some of these larger counties will help me with local rules and development of procedures to process the cases a little bit faster.
Thank you. We're going to do a 30-second answer to try to get one more question in before closing statements. We're going to start with Hugh on this one. Looking back over your legal career, what's your greatest accomplishment?
I think becoming a judge. I have worked very hard in the various positions I've had as a private practitioner, as a court research attorney, as a Superior Court Commissioner, and as a court executive officer. To become a judge, I think that I've gained the respect of judges throughout the state, attorneys who I practiced with, attorneys I worked for, and the clients I represented.
Thank you, Hugh. Mr. Trifolo, greatest accomplishment?
Staying in practice for 40 years in a practice that's primarily family law. When I started my practice, I was told that family law is the most difficult area of the law that there is, because you're dealing with basically good people, but they're acting at their worst, they're emotional, they're upset. I was able to handle that type of practice. And I believe that my clients are spreading the word, hopefully, that I'm good at it. I feel that it takes a real achievement to deal with people that lengthy period of time and do a good job. And I do believe that I've been doing a good job.
Thank you, Mr. Triflo, and your greatest accomplishment, Mr. Healy.
As I was sitting here listening to the other answers, it's really a difficult question for me to answer in the sense of picking one specific accomplishment, because quite honestly, I get up every day and go to work as a prosecutor serving the people of the state of California. And I find that incredibly rewarding because I get to help the people by seeking justice, by helping find the truth, and I get to help protect the victims. I bring a very unique, I believe, perspective, as quite honestly, I have myself been a victim over the course of the years of several different crimes. Identity theft. When I was 10 years old, I had a young man try to rob my bicycle from me. And as a prosecutor, I understand the frustrations that victims have. And so as an accomplishment, I think that quite honestly, it's about making those victims whole and bringing some conclusion to each of those cases.
Thank you, Mr. Healy. We have reached the point for closing statements, and I'll start with you, Mr. Triflo.
Yes, thank you again for allowing us to talk today. Do we have 30 seconds?
1 minute.
1 minute. I would hope that the voters do take a look at the web pages of the various candidates involved. I would like you to come out to the various meet and greets. I'd like you to meet me personally. I think I have a lot to offer. What I'm offering specifically is a career in the law that I've loved, a career with people on a daily basis that I'm helping get through the legal system. My career has been mostly civil litigation. I have background in criminal law as well, as I've indicated. I am prepared to take the position of the judge in Department 2, and I believe that I can do the best job of the candidates involved because of the compassion, because of the way that I've handled my clients over the 40 years, and because of the experience and knowledge that I've gained in that 40 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Mr. Healy, closing statement.
Yes, this may sound like we're revisiting a certain issue. Department 1 is handling mostly criminal cases right now. It is not misleading to say that Department 2, according to the court's own website, is handling this past week, 60% of the cases are criminal and 40% are civil. Yes, infractions are involved, but quite honestly, an infraction is started with a stop under the Fourth Amendment. Every single criminal case that comes into a courtroom involves the Fourth Amendment. It is an incredibly complex issue, and I think that to say that that doesn't mean it's criminal is, quite frankly, misstating the situation. I bring years and years of experience. I've handled thousands of cases, almost anything that you can think of from the criminal side, from homicide to gang-related cases to major narcotics to child abduction. That's what I do right now. We're involved with recovering children when parents abduct them and take them to other counties, other states, and other countries. We've recovered children from Israel, from Taiwan, and Mexico. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And Mr. Swift.
Thanks, Joel. At the beginning, I told you that I wanted to give you some facts about me and my qualifications for this position. I think facts are very important. As a judge, that's what I rely on in making my decisions, and I think that voters should as well. And I think if you look at the facts, you'll see that I have a very diverse and relevant background as it relates to this position. I am a judge. I hear cases on a daily basis in Department 2. Prior to my appointment to the bench, I was a Superior Court Commissioner where I heard cases for 5 years. I have received the endorsement of both Judge Martin and Judge Mawini. I'm the only candidate whose qualifications, specific qualifications to sit as a judge, have been evaluated by an independent, nonpartisan commission of the California State Bar. And I'm the only candidate for this position who has experience in judicial administration, which I think is going to be very important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Swift. And thank you for joining us for this forum. We'll see you next time.